time to rejoin the conversation. And we are back, and okay, here we go, party politics. So, what is the difference between financial freedom and economic freedom? As I told you before, we're going to have a serious conversation. Hopefully it's also fun, and I hope that you get something enlightening, even inspiring out there as you get your money right. So, first, let's define them both. I found some definitions of them both, but I actually want to start with, I had Dave and Adrian each look up one of these definitions. So I'm going to start with Dave and the definition for financial freedom.
This comes from, I think it's Susie Orman or something like that.
Oh, yeah. She's a financial coach.
A big part of financial freedom is having your heart and mind free to worry about the what ifs of life. So basically she's saying that you have enough money that you don't have to worry about paying the bills. You're able to travel, have a certain lifestyle that you wish. I think that's where it goes from that, and I'll expand upon it more after Adrian's definition.
So what'd you find for economic freedom?
I have for economic freedom, the freedom to prosper within a country without intervention from a government or economic authority. Individuals are free to secure and protect his or her human resources, labor, and private property.
Okay, so as you can just hear in the definitions, one of them is truly about your paycheck.
Yeah.
One is about having enough money to be able to do the things you want to do. Be able to, like I say, take vacations, make sure that all the bills are paid, buy yourself some nice things. And one of them is about your liberty in a society. When you've achieved true economic freedom, you are at a point where you can really set terms for yourself. Whereas with financial freedom, you're setting terms for yourself on a certain level, but in being able to engage your city, state, or local governments, because you've got that level of money that you're able to affect not only change for yourself but change on a macro level. I think because those are actually quite similar to the definitions that I found. So for financial freedom, I found that, financial freedom, it says, is more than having money. It's the freedom to just be who you really are and do what you really want to be doing in life. It is about the financial freedom, whereas the definition I found for economic freedom was actually very similar to what Adrian found, in that it's the ability for a member of a society to undertake economic action. I liked that phrasing, economic action, because it's you being able to say, that building or that piece of property, I want to own that, and you can move on that, not just Okay, well, we need to get our bills in order and make sure that we've got all our debt paid down so that we are in a position so that we can get a loan or da da da. It's no, I've got the money and I want to move on this, or there's something going on, like I say, on the city, state, even federal level that you can actually put your money toward that is actionable for something larger than yourself.
I think I can expound upon that a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I can kind of tie it into two different ways with my own personal experience. So, as far as the financial freedom goes, owning my business, construction business, with 40 employees. Okay? So, in order for me to achieve financial freedom, it starts off with the man in the mirror. I have to make good decisions in my business. I have to take care of my employees because my employees are my assets. I create the business, I get the business, I bid the business, but I have to have my employees to be able to enact the business.
Exactly.
And if they enact the business properly and I bid the business properly and I run the business properly and reward them and keep them happy and long-term employees, which my company's been in business now for 52 years, so the formula has worked. I've owned it for 11. And that allows me, if I am able to do this, I can achieve financial freedom.
Exactly.
Because I can make a good income.
Exactly.
And I can sock that money back, and I can have something for after I retire or have a succession plan. Now, economic freedom is this, on my scale. Whereas I came out here in '91 from the East Coast, had wood framing experience, building ski condos and what have you, and went to work for this company as a foreman, high school education. And I worked as the foreman, and I ended up doing side business on weekends, and I saved that money up because I knew that the gentleman that started the business in 1966 would retire someday. And I thought I could do this. So there's your American dream. That's economic freedom. I was able to rise up, save enough money to buy this business, and then even survive a terrible recession quickly after I bought it. It basically took all my retirement money to put in it to keep it alive for 3 years without a paycheck.
You bought it 06 or 07?
Bought it in '07, May of '07. So that's economic freedom because I was able to see that dream, save enough money to go after the dream.
Right. So you had achieved a certain level of financial freedom, and then you were able to parlay that into a certain level of economic freedom.
Exactly. So it's kind of an interesting parlay.
Yeah. I don't think you can do
one is supposed to lead to the other if you're able to do it. Now I can promise you, everybody out in podcast land, you think you can own a small business? Go for it. But you better realize it's not easy. And my simple saying is this: if it was easy, everybody would do it. You have to have a dedication and a desire that is unflagging. And you have to be able to ride through storms and make good decisions. You will either success or fail upon yourself and yourself only. It is up to you to create that success. And you every day you have to get up and forget what happened yesterday and start the day anew and put your game face on and go get it. But you better go back and look and see what your failures were in business and understand what they were and get them corrected. Because if you don't, you will eventually fail.
Yeah, I would say, I think the pursuit for most people would probably be the financial freedom side, because I guess the best word to put with what a lot of people are going through is financial bondage. So the bills are dictating what's going on with them financially, which, if you got more bills than you got income, then of course that causes some level of distress in your life personally. And I think, You got people like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman and all these other people out here that are really pushing, for people to become more financially independent or financially free, so they can focus on, if they have that, stick to it, just like you have, for them to find ways to build wealth personally, economically. So buying the buildings, buying assets, starting companies or businesses, or investing in other areas. So, that's the part where the dream, the hustle has to come to reality with work.
And it's a reality, isn't it? Sometimes a very hard reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I was making the point earlier as we were looking up some of the definitions. There's a certain point that I believe is a good number for people to try to achieve, and I think there are everyday Americans of all classes, creeds, and races that can achieve it and do achieve it, is to make about $2 or $3 million to have done by the time you get to your retirement. Because if you can achieve that type of money, you do have a certain amount of stress-free life, because you have enough money that you paid your house off, you paid your vehicles off, you're able to pay your bills, but you better not go crazy.
Absolutely.
You lose your mind on something like that and start living high life, that money can disappear so fast.
Yeah, in fact, I just saw on the news this morning, they were talking about Elvis's daughter, and how, when she got her inheritance, it was just like $100 million when she was 25, because, some kind of bad business dealings or whatever. Like, now she's almost broke.
Who's that? Elvis's wife, Priscilla?
His daughter.
Oh, his daughter.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I was just like, and which goes to what you're saying. I'm like, I don't care how much money you have. If you haven't gotten to the place of true economic freedom, you can lose all that money super fast.
For real.
And she had $100 million and lost it.
We see that in our professional athletes all too often.
Oh yeah.
And in some ways, I feel bad for them, because I'm going, well, where was your good advice on this?
Well, I think that all the time. I mean, because they
But
said
on the other hand, I'm saying, you damn fool.
We all say,
Why didn't you turn that around and do something with it for
it's
yourself?
hard. I can remember me at 20-something years old. If you handed me $100 million, I was going to be, it was all about my ego.
Oh, absolutely.
Now at 39.
At that, yeah.
Well,
at that age.
My wife used to rent the Royals players that were rookies coming in. They were staying in an apartment complex fairly close to the stadium there. Mm-hmm. A lot of these young men had never even written a check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
she was shocked that you had no idea how to handle all this money they had all of a sudden.
Yeah, the one
was
thing,
minimum salary of $350,000.
Yeah.
It's still $350,000.
Exactly. I mean, that's the one thing that the leagues, none of the leagues do, is they don't do any financial training for these guys.
Or schools, leagues.
Yeah. It's just the one thing. Yeah, I mean,
They're on scholarship. They get fed. They got housing.
Well, and I think the thing that I was thinking about when I was thinking about this topic is, a lot of schools used to do like home ec. So, and part of home ec was, teaching you how to budget, which, is one of the things that's usually number one on most lists of, if you're trying to achieve economic freedom, or there's a certain number of things that you should be really knowing how to do, and one is how to budget. And but I'm amazed that high school, college, there are almost no courses on how to deal with your money.
And a lot of them don't bother to take the course if there was one too.
Yeah, well,
so, that point has to be made too. You need to understand. You having the benefit of going to school as a college athlete. Why don't you take the courses to help you succeed further in life once your career?
Well, as a college athlite,
that doesn't become a reality until you're faced with the fact that you're about to go broke in most cases.
Right.
So when you've never had that kind of money, at all throughout life, you don't know how to adjust, or you got one set of spending habits. Like,
Yeah, well, and what happens is, too, is nobody has ever had any money.
right.
So what happens is, you know, all of your friends, your entire family, everybody is now, basically dependent upon your paycheck. So you're paying people's rents. You're picking up the bill every time you go out, and you don't want to hoard the money because it's no fun, quote unquote, having this money, and you haven't been able to bring people along with you. So I think people wind up just blowing so much money. I mean, some of them really do just do stupid things and buy stupid things, but I think a lot of it is just all of the ancillary people around you that you want to take care of because they were with you when you had nothing.
Well, let's think about the young male too. At that age, all the blood has gone out of their head down to their lower extremities.
Yeah.
And that little head down there doesn't think like the big head's supposed to think about.
Man, look, let me tell you
And it
something.
causes them problems.
Let me tell you something.
And they have too many babies and things like that.
When I was, like you say, 21, 25, if you gave me $100 million, quit playing. It'd have been a problem, and I would be down. I may not be broke, but I definitely wouldn't have $100 million anymore.
No,
not even close.
If you bring it.
Man.
At this point.
Yeah, but like you say, at this point of my life, I look at money in a very different way, and
Wait till you turn 60.
I can believe. Hey, I can definitely
I
believe
think it's
that.
a lot more.
And I
It's a
think
lot more serious.
We're taught to go get the money, but there's never any discussions about
How you handle money,
and
right?
How you handle the money, and whether we realize it or not, as money is just a very emotional object. Like when you have it, you feel a certain way, and when you don't have it,
You feel a certain way.
So,
And especially if you had it and lost it.
right.
Yeah, that's a feeling most people never want to feel, having been there.
Well, I worked in the oil fields as a young man. My buddies getting out of college were holding to make, in the late 70s, early 80s, were holding to make 20, 25,000. Mm-hmm. I'm here knocking down 45, 50,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Buffett had a great line in the song. Made enough money to buy Miami, but I pissed it away so fast.
Hey,
And that's kind of where you were. You work hard, you play hard, and the money comes and goes and flows, and it goes away as fast as it
See,
comes.
you're supposed to stay away from them Creole girls. That's what.
Yeah, but that ain't worth it, man. Let me tell you. I love this Creole girl.
I was a part of the big housing boom when houses were being bought and sold left and right, and 06, 07, 08. Excuse me. The crash came in 08. And there were mortgage companies popping up all over places. I mean, houses way overpriced, that kind of stuff. And I recall one particular mortgage company, guy that owned it, when the crash happened, he lost all his money, he lost everything. And these cats, I knew some cats making $30,000, $20,000, $40,000 a month. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But they were all doing, it was very crooked. I mean, just outlandish stuff. But when that money stopped and they didn't sustain it and they didn't save it, and the bubble burst,
didn't know how to handle it.
The cat, he jumped off the bridge.
Wow!
Yeah, he jumped off a bridge in Tampa Bay.
Wow!
Killed himself because he lost all the money.
Yeah, and being in the housing industry, I worry about that now because even though the millennials are tending to save more money, there's a lot of millennials, they live at home and they save their money. A lot of them have $100,000 to invest at a fairly early age. That was an interesting stat I saw recently. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I do see a lot of these millennials buying these they're 20-something, they're buying a $400,000, $500,000, $350,000 house.
Right.
And I'm saying...
Which I've never understood.
You realize...
It's your first house. Why are you doing
You're a job away from... You're just a step away from losing your job and not being able to make your house payment.
Absolutely.
And that's another bubble that could form.
Yeah. Which actually brings me to one of the next things that's kind of on the list of things that, you should be doing if you're actually seeking economic freedom. You should be paying yourself. You should be paying yourself and investing in yourself. If you're a church going person, they always talk about tithing and giving 10% to the Lord, and absolutely you should be doing that. I can't even say I've gotten to that place in my life yet, but on top of giving 10% to the Lord, you should be taking 10% and paying yourself
But if
as
you can
well.
get 3% and pay yourself,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
if you're in a congregation, I'm about to join the Catholic Church, and I don't think I can tithe 10% right now. But I'll tithe what I can afford.
What
to
you can
tithe
afford to tithe. Yeah, I get that.
and support my church.
Yeah, and whatever. Yeah, whatever. It's a good rule of thumb. If you're actually tithing at church or whatever you can actually afford to be tithing, can you afford to tithe to yourself the
Right.
same amount of money?
Be careful how you look at things, because you're absolutely right. I've had many small business people tell me, don't forget to take care of yourself, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to do that too. I tend to be too
because you
accommodating.
have to take care of your people.
I tend to have too big of a heart sometimes. I try too hard to take care of my people, and sometimes that's come back and haunted me.
Yeah, you
Because
got to take care of yourself.
enough sock back for a harder time.
Yeah. Which really leads me to kind of the next thing in kind of paying yourself. You want to get to the point where you are as debt-free as you can possibly be.
Yes.
I really only know one or two people that are truly debt-free. Like, they've set their lives up enough that, other than maybe mortgage, and just, bills that are going to come around anyway, they really have set themselves up where they're just not in debt. And I know, me personally, I'm not at that point yet, but I do know the importance of getting to that point, paying yourself so that you can get debt free, which kind of gets me to the next point of kind of being economically free. And we were kind of touching on this earlier when we were talking about just kind of the excesses that can happen when you do have money. You have to minimize in your life. You can't be spending as much money as you make. You just, you get it. It's funny. I was talking with my cousin earlier today, and I haven't had an opportunity to go out and check these stats, but something feels real about it. And he was saying, do you know in the Asian community that the dollar circulates the community for 28 days? And I say, yeah, I can believe that. And he says, now, here's the kicker. In the African American community, do you know how long the dollar circulates? And I said, what, a couple days? I was being funny, but I was being serious. He says, 4 hours.
Ooh.
That's the problem.
Ow.
You're giving the money away as soon as you get it. One, you don't have a lot of money, so you got to do what you got to do, obviously. But do you need them Stacey Adams? Do you need them rims on that car that you actually shouldn't be paying for anyway? Because you either live with your mama or in an apartment and you got to escalate. Like why are you spending the way you're spending? Minimizing till you are at a point where you can tithe yourself.
Yep.
It's just a really important point. And that was that was kind of a shocking stat.
Yeah, that is a shocking stat. I tell you something, the wife and I do, and I like to go out to a nice dinner. And when we go out to dinner, I'm willing to spend the money. You know how often we eat at home compared to a lot of the people we know, especially the millennials. Millennials eat out. They eat out 4 or 5 nights a week. And we cook at home. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what? I like cooking at home with my wife. I like going out in the kitchen and cooking up a dinner with her. There's something that brings a closeness to you with that you don't get it when you go out to eat.
It is. It's a very expensive habit that a lot of us picked up in comparison in my younger years to now. I probably eat out a lot more than I probably should. And when I look at my bank statements, I definitely know I eat out entirely too much because it's just me. Now, kind of stand at the stove and cook, meals. Sometimes, I do meal prep for the entire week, and it's so much cheaper. But I think we've gotten into this mix of being rushed. Like we got so much to do.
It is the rush, and they got kids.
Yeah.
And the kids got activities.
And so we got to stop.
I get it, and sometimes it's even just easy for them to run into a McDonald's and throw a hamburger down their kid, right?
Absolutely.
And I don't have that problem. So, I get their life, and I get why they do some of the things they do. But I also said maybe you need to plan your life a little less hectic.
Well, it's funny. Jackie and I are at a point in our lives where we're being asked to do a lot of different things in a lot of different directions. And, Jackie's kind of found out about me. One of the things that I hate is being overcommitted. One of the reasons that it bothers me to be overcommitted is really you can't do any of those things super well. And then 2, I am very jealous of my time because the only commodity we really have is our time. Sure. So, and if you've given all of your time away, which gets me to kind of the next point in being economically free is, you can't contribute. You can't contribute to your family. You can't contribute to your community, and you certainly can't contribute to yourself because you've extended yourself so much. I love to be able to say yes to people, but I also have to go, wait a minute.
You know what?
You know what? We're doing something Wednesday. Let's not commit to Thursday. So we can just sit down and maybe enjoy each other's company.
Isn't that what the Pendergast Club kind of holds for us?
It does.
It really is a time when we can come up and sit down on the couch or sit up there and relax with each other, smoke a cigar, have a cocktail, take an hour out of our day just to let it melt away a little bit.
Exactly.
It's a little thing, but it's a little thing that is me time. And I think you have to find me. I know I have to find me time. Mm-hmm. It's very important for me time, and I think I see a lot of young people that don't take time for me time. They have their life so structured, so pushed. I worry about their stress level. I worry about the stress level of their kids, with all the programs that they have.
Yeah.
I see these things, and I've gotten older. I'm able to look back and see things now. It's different once you get through a good part of your life. I'm on my last part of my life now. If I lived to 80, I lived another 20 years.
Right.
20 years in Jack when you get to my age.
It does seem to start moving a little quicker.
Tell me about it, bro. Definitely the trade for time now is, I think people are now noticing, like, time is just flying, and with goals, ambitions, and all this kind of stuff, you still got life. And, you don't want to overcommit. And I think that's something I'm definitely learning now, being at a point in life where I was overcommitted to things like church and work and, things outside of myself where I didn't take the time to put into myself. I would always wait till I got to that point where I spread myself so thin, and then the frustration set in, and then I was just like, all right, I got to take a break. And then you're really just taking a break just so you can kind of recoup to
Right.
go right back
To go right back.
and do the same things you were overcommitted for in the first place.
Exactly.
And that affects you that affects your finances, it affects your relationships, it affects several different things. So learning balance at this point has become
It affects your sleep too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, that's one thing we got to have. You know, you really need to have sleep. You got to have at least 6 hours a night.
Yeah.
If you're tossing and turning all night, it really starts to affect you physically
It really truly does.
because you're living too much stress.
You know, I think, you know, not to put too fine a point on it, but, you know, because I know it sounds simple, you know, and I'm sure people are going to listen to this thinking, you know, that we were going to say, okay, here's the, you know, 1, 2, 3, if you do these things, you know, you'll be financially and economically free. And it, you know, and some of the stuff that we're saying may sound simple, but the biggest thing I can say is that simple ain't easy. You know, it's
Ain't that the truth? Amen to that.
it is it's a lifestyle decision that you have to make, and you have to be dedicated to it in order to get where you want to go in life. You know, Dave decided at a certain point that not only could he do this job, but he could run this business. And had he not made that decision and socked away that money, he wouldn't be owning the company now. You know, had, you know, Adrian decided that the comfort of the paycheck was more important than the thing that he really wanted to be doing, you know, Path to Vision wouldn't be on its way to getting where it wants to be. You know, had I not decided, you know, 2.5 years ago almost to, you know, start doing this show, you know, because it was something that I was passionate about doing, and making the decision that every week I'm going to take time out of my day, take time out of my life to do the show and try to give, you know, the best content that I can give, it wouldn't be happening. So it all seems simple and sounds simple, but simple ain't easy. Simple is a decision that you make because you know that you want to be dedicated to a certain amount of freedom. You know, first it starts with, you know, being financially free, and God willing, it leads to economic freedom. It leads to that liberty and ability for the members of a society to undertake the economic actions that they want to take, not the things that I got to do that.
Yep.
Well, at a certain point, you know, I always think about the Gates. Not the, if you're in Kansas City listening, not the Gates barbecue family, but they actually fit into this mold too. But you know, Bill and Melinda Gates. You know, at a certain point, you know, he decided that, you know, he was going to go in his garage and he was going to work on this software until he got it to a point that, you know, it can be usable and transformative for, you know, everybody in the world. And now they have real economic freedom. They're building schools. They're doing amazing philanthropic work. But it starts with a decision to budget. It starts with the decision to pay yourself. It starts with the decision to contribute to yourself. It starts with the decision to be mindful of, you know, how much you're scheduling or over-scheduling yourself so that you can take the time to design groundbreaking software or an organization that teaches youth soft skills so that they are able to go into the work world and be successful. It takes a decision to be able to start a wood framing construction company that employs 40 people, and those decisions aren't easy, but they are the most worthwhile decisions that you could be making. So with that, I think I'm going to close this section, and we'll be right back. Hey, you having a good time? Let me introduce you to a couple of my media brothers. First, www.americathemixtape.com, a cipher on American politics, society, and culture. And where'd I get that mixtape? Of course, www.cornerbodega.us, purveyors of urban culture. Come on, let's get back to the party. And we are back. So before we get out of here, let's talk about today's sugar honey iced tea. And of course, for those that don't know, these are things that I or a member of the group found that are really cool, aka the shit. And today's sugar honey iced tea is freedom, financial, economic, and otherwise. So when I think about it, freedom, real freedom, is the ability to do whatever it is you want to do whenever it is you want to be doing it. And what I've found kind of in thinking about this topic and in just, observations in life, most people never operate from a place of freedom. Most people operate from a place of, necessity. They operate from, a place of, these things must be done. These things have to be done. These debts have to be paid. Whereas freedom, and honestly, you can be economically free without, or financially free, let me say that, without having a bunch of money. We were discussing earlier, you can be, the most blue collar person, and you're living your life within your means, and you can be having a simple, happy life.
I have several foremen.
Yeah.
I have two foremen who worked for us since the 70s. They've achieved a good life. They never wanted to run a business.
And I think what we find today is, I think Adrian was saying it on break, is you got so many people that want to do things, quickly. They want to do things the fast way, and they haven't made an actual plan.
They sit in a coffee shop and think they're going to be a millionaire by the time they're 30. Ain't going to work that way. You got to get out and bust your butt.
Absolutely. So, do a couple of things. One, make a plan. Make a real plan. Sit down, write it out, physically write it out. Two, be realistic with the plans that you're making. Three, get a hold of your budget. Know what's coming in, what's going out. What doesn't have to be going out, because that's just frivolous money that you're throwing away.
And four, have a contingency plan.
Absolutely. If you do these things, I guarantee, whether you become, a multimillionaire, or you just work for some job because maybe you don't have the ambition to own your own business or something like that, I guarantee you will find freedom. Oh, the other thing is, don't stop learning. Don't stop taking in new information. Read, listen to podcasts, not even in particular this podcast, although you should keep listening to the Loft Party podcast because we appreciate you out there.
Cosign.
But, take in new information. Read. What you don't know will hurt you. Trust me.
You have no idea.
And with all that, we're going to end this podcast in the way we end all podcasts, and that is with the toast that started it all for me, and that is to good times with good people.